Thanks for joining us today. I'm Kevin, owner of Halo Power Solutions. We are Sherwood Park and Fort Saskatchewan's most trusted electricians. So today, I'm going to share with you how the electricity actually gets into your home and what's going on inside your electrical panel. We take for granted that the power is always on at our home. All of our devices work the way they should every day, and that magic box in your basement, your electrical panel or breaker box, really just keeps doing its thing. There's no moving parts on it. There's no flashing lights. There's really no glamour to it. But I think it's important that homeowners know exactly what's inside the electrical panel, and also to be aware of what happens when the power actually comes in, how it's distributed through the panel. Also want to share the dangers inside the electrical panel and why a homeowner should never go inside an electrical panel. Always leave that up to a certified professional contractor. Have your electrician go in there. Don't play around in there. It's dangerous. There's always a risk of electric shock when you're inside a live electrical panel. So first off, let's have a look at how the power actually comes into your home. Somewhere on your front street, there's going to be a transformer. It's usually a big green box. Some neighborhoods also have the power brought in through a lamp post, but typically it's a transformer located near your home. That's where the power is distributed to usually 4, 5, 6 homes in your immediate area. So in my neighborhood, we live in a cul-de-sac. We have one transformer located near the opening of the cul-de-sac, and that power is distributed through individual lines from the transformer to each house. Now, each of the homes in my cul-de-sac has a 100 amp service, and again, that's distributed from the transformer located near the entrance to my cul-de-sac. And when the power gets near your property line, it will run up the front yard underground, buried to a depth of at least 3 feet down, and that line will run underground to your utility meter. So your electrical meter is located typically on the side or the back of your house, depending how the utility lines come into your yard.
So here we have your typical 100 amp electrical meter. 240 volts coming into your home, and you'll have an underground line. In some of the older neighborhoods, you'll have an overhead service coming in, but typically all the homes here in Sherwood Park have underground service coming in. So these are the cables that run back to that green box, the transformer we saw out in the street, underground coming in here, and this is how you get your bill, which everybody loves so much. You can see the meters on there. The numbers are rolling, and yeah, every month you're greeted with your utility bill. So the meter itself actually makes a connection to your home. So if you don't pay your bill, they come and pull the meter and you're pretty much out of power. Okay, anyways, so once again, this is your metering equipment and it runs into our house, and we'll show you how that works on the inside.
All right, everyone. So this is your typical 100 amp electrical panel. This is a Siemens brand panel. My home was built in 1995, so this is a very common panel for this era. And actually, we're still putting in these electrical panels today. I can buy this, pretty much this exact same panel at the wholesalers. That's my cat making the door move there. He's my co-host today. So when we were outside, we noticed that the electrical service meter had a conduit coming into the house, and this is actually where the conduit comes through, up through there. These are your main conductors. These are your main service conductors coming into your home, and they go into your electrical panel in the top section here. We call the service section, and you can see I have a 100 amp service. There's your 2-pole 100 amp breaker, typical for so many homes. So let's take the panel cover off and I'll show you what's going on in here. I'm sure you're all very curious.
want to come in here. So we've got two parts to the electrical panel. The upper section is called the service side. There's our main 100 amp breaker. So these conductors that are coming in here, we've got basically two hots and a neutral. These two hots give you your 240 volts, and between this hot and your neutral wire gives you your 120 volts. And that is distributed through the panel for all the different loads that you have in your home. These wires go up through this conduit and they go up into your meter socket that we saw outside. So as you're using power, it's drawn in from the outside through the electrical meter and ends up right here. So this is your 100 amp main breaker up top here. And below are all your branch circuit breakers. So we call this the main, and these are the branch circuit breakers. And you've got all sorts of breakers in the single 15 amp breakers. That's for most of your plugs, lights. Then we've got these breakers here, the double 15s. Those are actually for my counter plugs. We've got a big 40 amp here, that's for my stove. This 30 amps for my dryer, and this is another counter plug up here. So there's quite a variety in here. Now, I don't encourage any homeowner to open up an electrical panel and start messing around in here, because you can see all the shiny parts. They're the dangerous parts. There's electricity running through all of these bars on the back. We call them bus bars. What happens is this main breaker actually attaches to these fingers on the bus bar, and then it runs power down each side of the panel. And then we put our breakers in, and they connect to that bus bar, providing power into the breaker, and then out of the breaker, these wires are attached, and this is the wiring that goes out of your panel and up to all of the different devices, equipment throughout your home. So essentially, main service side, branch circuit side, keep your fingers out of here. So what I'm going to show you now is how the breakers actually attach into this type of electrical panel. And there's all kinds of different kinds. Some of the breakers actually have screws up the middle. This particular one we call Pushin breakers. So I'm going to turn this breaker off and I'll pop it out of here. Again, this is not for the homeowner to try. I am a professional. Okay, there you go. So there's the breaker, and if you have a look in there, you'll see the little fingers that actually go in to these connections right here. They're just a spring connection, kind of a pressure fit. And this little edge here hooks into the breaker. So when I put it back in, and voila, breaker's back in. Turn it back on, and we're ready to rock. Again, don't try this at home. I don't recommend the homeowner ever try putting in their own breaker. Call a professional. There's a tour of your electrical panel, and I'm going to close this up, and then we'll talk about some other things in your home. All right, so we got our panel cover back on, and this panel's now safe. So if you're buying an older home, you want to keep in mind that the electrical panel is no different than your roof, your hot water tank, your furnace. Even though there's no moving parts in here, there's a lot going on in this electrical panel, and things wear down, things break down, and ultimately, especially with the older panels, those of you that have heard my rants and raves before about the Federal Pioneer and Federal Pacific panels, those panels have all sorts of problems, mainly breakers that don't trip when they're overloaded. So if you're going into a home that has an older electrical panel, Commander is another brand, Federal Pioneer for sure, you really want to be aware that it's time to replace that panel. The electrical panels have really evolved over the years. They've worked out a lot of the problems that the older panels have had. So I'm not concerned about this panel. I know it's operating just fine. If I ever came down here and I heard a breaker buzzing, because if you ever get near your electrical panel and you hear something buzzing, that's a sign there's a problem. If you smell anything, that smell of burning and electrical is not good. These are all signs that you've probably got a problem in your electrical panel. So don't ignore these. These panels wear out, Over time, they have problems just like anything else in your home. Don't ignore it. This is the heart of your electrical system, right here, this panel.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I'm Kevin with Halo Power Solutions. Thanks for joining me. If you are watching this video on Facebook, please like it, share it. Make sure you like our Halo Power Facebook page. And if you're on YouTube, we'd love for you to subscribe and please leave some comments. I'd love to get some feedback on what you think about these videos. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.